we've heard from panelists that around the country that that's probably not going to work. When you have a poverty level right now, or you're eligible for SNAP food assistance at $54,000 a year, you can imagine that most of the cars that could be exempted are a lot of the exemptions would be most of the traffic that's on the freeway today. Not all, but most of it. So it defeats the purpose of tolling all the lanes in the first place. It's simpler, less administrative cost to just have an express lane, in my opinion. And until they show us the financial numbers that prove me wrong, I'm gonna be advocating for that model.
An argument could be made, however, that express lane is really a privileged lane, and that only those that can afford it would be able to use it.
Well, I guess it's the, I mean, what's so, one could argue what's that different than tolling all the lanes and giving all the low-income people a pass?
Yeah, it's a thorny problem.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, I think the carve out is hard. I know that the ripple effect is even going down into Wilsonville. I remember we had a presentation down in the Stafford area about the new frog pond development on the northeast corner of Wilsonville. And when they got done talking, the planner and the community development director, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we're going to have 2,000 or 3,000 new residents, people started asking, well, where are they going to go with the traffic? Are they going to jam up into the Stafford interchange? And they said, oh, we don't know. Somebody else got to talk about that. They start pointing to ODOT and to the county and to Metro. And so if you just think about that, 2,000 to 3,000 new employees plus, residents plus all the population of Wilsonville, that's a big chunk coming in as well. And Lake Oswego back and forth, West Lynn. So it's going to be tough for carve out. And I think Paul's right on. And Paul, I thank you for your tenacity with this issue. It just doesn't make sense to me. And, we created the interstate system to be a free way interstate system around America to move commerce and move people. And it just keeps getting picked on as you go across the country. And then I forget where we were. We're driving across the country and all of a sudden you stop, you got to hit a toll for a certain segment and then back on. And then if you didn't have the transponder and all kinds of craziness. So hopefully it'll fall onto the floor of the cutting floor of the final product.
Huh. From your mouth to ODOT's ears.
Right.
Well, we appreciate your advocacy, Commissioner Savas, and looking out for all those details that might impact people in ways that we're not contemplating. So thank you for persevering in that work. Appreciate all your expertise in that area too.
But thank you.
Yeah, no other questions, presuming for Commissioner Savas. I just want to double check. All right, thank you for your update. We will move on now to a presentation by Tracy Moreland, Policy Advisor with Clackamas County. Hi, Tracy. Tracy's going to give a presentation or an update actually on the Construction Careers Pathways project. So Tracy, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, I'm Tracy Moreland. I'm a policy advisor for the county commissioners. A lot of you know me from my time supporting Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Schrader. Right now, I'm working on some special project, and Commissioner Savas, I know yesterday I just presented a similar presentation to the board. And today I was asked to provide an update on our Construction Career Pathways project, which is C2P2 for short. And I want to apologize right off the bat because I think this heat wreaks havoc on our air quality, and then it affects our voice and our eyes and everything. So if I sound hoarse, it's just because I've been talking a lot this week, which more than usual. I tend to talk a lot anyway, but more than usual public speaking this week. But I'm I have a PowerPoint and I'll just run through some C2P2 updates with you and a little bit of history, and then we could have some questions if that sounds good. And let me see, I don't often share my screen, but I think I can make it work today. Tell me if you can see this one. You see that?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. So just a little bit of a recap. Let me see if I could go through the slides here. There we go. So in 2018, Oregon Metro, our government partner, approached the county with the C2P2 concept and encouraged support of adoption to that framework. There was a task force and a lot of studies done in our region recently at that time that discussed the barriers that women and people of color face in the construction trade in the Portland region and construction jobs. And the intention of C2P2 is to have a positive effect on the impact those barriers create through employer policies and new opportunities for apprenticeships. And so county staff at Clackamas County worked with Metro staff, and we also worked with our workforce board, and I see Bridget's here today too, Clackamas Workforce Partnership, to develop a plan for the county and a plan that CWP could help support as well. So in November, the board approved a county plan and adopted the C2P2 framework. Two county departments that oversee county capital projects, WES and DTD, they started out as kind of pilot departments for C2P2 just to see how we were going to implement this in the county. So we had the CWP apprenticeship programs, and then we had WES and DTD looking at something for the county's construction capital projects. C2P2 contains 7 basic elements that public agencies can strive to achieve. And I'm going to put a link to a bigger document that you all can refer to later that discusses in detail the 7 elements that you see on the screen here. So I won't go over each one, but I do want to just touch on how the county is supporting each one of these different elements. According to C2P2 framework, each agency should make an effort through relationships with our contractors to support region-wide hiring goals, and those are ramped up over time. And you can see here they're pretty ambitious, but again, these aren't intended and like I say, the county is helping support this in the region. And as you know, people who work in the construction trade, they don't work in one place all the time. So they, today you might be in Oregon City, tomorrow or next month you might be in Hillsborough or Northeast Portland. And so these are regional goals that we're trying, with the help of our workforce board, to increase these numbers over time. Their goals. So WES and DTD as our pilot departments looked at establishing a county internal work plan that where we could meet the C2P2 goals as a county. And they crafted this tiered system based on project size and cost and what we had coming up in the near future and how the county could support it. And just briefly running through these different tiers. Again, these aren't C2P2 tiers. These are our WES department, and our transportation and development department created these tiers for the county on how we could support C2P2. So the first one is really small projects, less than $1 million. And we decided that it just wasn't at this time financially feasible to require any of the C2P2 criteria, just because those are very minor 1 or 2 day jobs, road repair, maintenance. Tier 2 are subject to workplace harassment and prevention plans. And those are jobs that are between $1 and $10 million. And those are actually a lot of what WES and DTD are doing right now. And you can see the list of some of the jobs there, examples. These are what's happening right now, what's currently underway. These are all jobs that are probably, I think, between $1 and $3 million jobs. And so when you have a contractor with significant number of employees doing a job of this size, we want to just make sure that they have those harassment prevention plans in place for their employees, that they are able to train and implement and provide any education about what that means to their employees. And so that is a requirement for that level of job of construction jobs or capital projects of the county. Tier 3 is those larger jobs, more than $10 million. And those are subject to workforce agreements where the county with the winning contractor who wins the bid for that job will outline in that agreement all the different criteria for adhering to C2P2, which would be contractor participation in harassment prevention policies, workplace culture change strategies, and also a minimum number of apprentice and journey level women and minority workers working for a specified duration throughout the project. And there's really only, I will talk about the courthouse as a separate project, but there's really only one project imminently happening at the county that's that big, and that's the Tri-City Outfall Project through Water Environment Services, and that's a $45 million job. And that's right now still in the negotiating this with the design build team, the scope and fee, but we know that that is a planned project that's coming soon. And so, so that's sort of phase 1 of C2P2 with our 2 pilot departments and how they're implementing that for capital projects. In addition to the capital projects within DTD and West, the courthouse replacement project had the Fengate Group won the bid with their technical proposal to oversee that project, and they included an implementation plan concerning C2P2 as well. And they already have policies concerning anti-harassment and workplace culture. They have policies supporting apprenticeships and subcontractors, supporting minority-owned subcontractors, small businesses, women-owned, veteran-owned. And they had implementation plan that they included that outlined how they would adhere to C2P2 criteria. Additionally, the county is going to execute a comprehensive partnership agreement with that contractor that's going to incorporate and codify all of our C2P2 goals, as well as you know, everything else that needs to be in that document. So this is I think, for at least for me, the courthouse is the biggest job many of us are gonna see in our time with the county, and so this is really big as far as having that agreement in place. As I mentioned earlier, our workforce board, they're the other partner, C2P2, the other kind of the third leg of the stool. The C2P2 framework requires that agencies invest in workforce supply, and that means developing strategies to increase the number of women and people of color in the workforce through apprenticeship programs. The board approved an initial allocation of $50,000 to CWP to oversee and implement pre-apprenticeship support programs for women and people of color who reside in Clackamas County. And there was a reallocation of funds just this last February of this year. And so there was a total investment of $100,000 to date. And we know from reports that they've given recently too, that there's been a total of 15 participants in these pre-apprenticeship programs. Right now there's 7, and those include, and those are really support programs for folks who want to have placement in pre-apprenticeship program through Oregon Tradeswomen, and also supports for the costs associated with being in those pre-apprenticeship programs for materials, supplies, and things that they might need. And so they've done a great job overseeing these programs, and we're really proud of how they've been able to help these individuals get access to living wage family jobs, or the training they need to get those jobs. Another one of the C2P2 criteria is participation in a regional collaboration committee. And we have 2 staff at the county who attend those meetings. And one of our CWP members attends. And this is really to just work together with the other supporting agencies, best practices, strategies for helping keep moving the program forward and becoming successful. And I've listed some of the other agencies that have adopted C2P2, question mark by Washington County. I think they were in the process, and I'm not sure if they actually have, but I think there's a lot of agencies, while they haven't formally adopted C2P2, they might follow the criteria in their capital projects. And that's really a quick, fast overview of the program, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I think I usually, I work with the folks, obviously, who in finance, who do the capital projects and do those contracts. And
appreciate your presentation. I have a question, and then I'll get over to William. I was curious in terms of your work with Clackamas Community College around apprenticeship. I was presuming there must be some connection there already. I just wanted to ask the question, and then I had one other question after that.
About the college, I'm sorry, you're specifically if they're a partner or?
Yeah, if we're a partner, or if you're, we have a lot of students in apprenticeship and career technical education programs. So I was just curious when I saw that list, and I know we work a lot with Bridget Daisy, but I was just curious if there is something specific that the college can do to support the goals or help be part of the pipeline for some of our students who are in apprenticeship.
Yeah, and I think and I know, Bridget does work with, that might be a question. Is she?
She's here. Bridget, do you have a response for that?
Let me go ahead in. Well, one, I think it would be amazing if Clackamas Community College also signed on to the C2P2 project, because it is any taxing body in the metro area that expects to be doing any capital projects. And so any of our municipalities, the school districts, the community college, Oregon Tech, like all of you could sign on to C2P2 to help with the whole. So maybe that's a conversation to have with Tim and team about the potential of also signing on, because the more Clackamas County representation we can have at the table, I think the better. And then as far as the connection to pre-apprenticeship programs, it is through the CCC Workforce Development Department that we're connecting the dots to those pre-apprenticeships. Now the pre-apprenticeships don't have most pre-apprenticeships are not available in Clackamas County. And so we have to go look outside of our county boundaries in order to connect people to pre-apprenticeship programs. And so that's something that we've been really actively looking for, is like, how do we get the amount of dollars so that we can have pre-apprenticeship programs here in our backyard?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bridget.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, just I know that the county and the college and the city of Oregon City have all partnered together before on projects locally. And so that's maybe a good nexus for all of that to happen too, is whatever they have coming up.
Yeah, and if there's, so I'm going to be leaving the college, but if there's an opportunity for folks to meet with Tim Cook, who's our president, I think he's also doing the Oregon City Rotary right now. He's very active in the community, and I'm sure if you reach out to him, or I could connect you before I go, he'd be happy to have a conversation, get the right people or additional people involved. He
works with the board on other things, particularly Commissioner Schrader, the child care issue, other issues. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then I was curious on the percentages. I noticed it was 14% for women, and that's such a odd number. And I just wondered, how did you come up with some of those percentages? I think it was like, yeah, the others were 25 or 20, and I think the women was 14. I just was curious where that number was. You don't know, it's fine.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in the studies that kind of precipitated those numbers. And like I say, they're not for one agency, but for the region. And I know that they have to do with some of the studies that were done as far as not only why folks weren't gaining access to positions in those trades, but also the duration of time. Sometimes I think they found that when folks were hired by the duration or the end of a specific job, that the numbers had changed, the hiring numbers had changed, and those folks weren't there anymore due to culture or other barriers in the actual job site. And so what I'm going to do is I'll send a link in the chat to some of the studies that were done, or I could send it to Karina and we could send all that out to you so you could learn more about how those numbers were created.
Sure. That sounds good. Either way is fine. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, I'm going to shift over to William and then Shannon.
Thank you, Alyssa. Actually, before I ask the question that I wanted to address something that Bridget alluded to, is the fact that there are other agencies in the county that could be availing themselves of this program. And I don't know if anyone, Tracy, in your office is assigned to be reaching out to these people. I mean, is someone talking to the school board, and asking them about their plans for construction of a new middle school and so on? So I don't know if that loop is closed by you people having dedicated contacts with some of those organizations.
Yeah, and so I mentioned the Regional Collaboration Committee, and that meets quarterly, and that's one of the jobs of that committee. And it's staff from all of the agencies that have already adopted the framework, and that's part of their job, is to look at how we can encourage other agencies to support the framework and really make this a comprehensive regional effort to make sure that we address those numbers.
So my main question, or my original question, was that of whether or not the
William, you've muted yourself, I think, inadvertently.
I meant to put my hand down. It's one of too many buttons. The question is regarding the pre-apprenticeship programs and the relation to the trade unions. Are these looked at as union jobs?
Pre-apprenticeships are not, they're pre-apprenticeships. So these are unpaid trainings that usually last about 8 weeks. And which is why there's such a need for support services, because people have to work full time and not get paid for it for the pre-apprenticeship. But what the pre-apprenticeship does, because it's registered with the Bureau of Labor and Industry, or BOLI, is that it creates a stronger connection to the union. So if somebody goes through a pre-apprenticeship program, they get extra points when they apply for an apprenticeship program.
I just wanted to make sure that the unions were not being forgotten in this process.
Oh, absolutely not. No. The pre-apprenticeship is to help support people so that they're ready to apply and participate in an apprenticeship program.
Okay, thank you.
Shannon?
Are these for county only jobs? I mean, when the ones you're describing are county specific, or are these for any, to help them be hired for any construction work?
Yeah, so for the pre-apprenticeship program, Bridget, please jump in if I'm wrong. The allocation that the county and that the CWP supports is for folks who reside in Clackamas County to have a seat in those pre-apprenticeship programs as part of the Oregon Trades Women program. Is that right, Bridget? Did I say that?
Yes, to date, the 100,000 have been spent on Clackamas County residents. But again, to Tracy's point earlier, that funders collaborative that's being developed is about, like, how do we equitably disperse those training dollars across the area when jurisdictional boundaries are, nobody in the construction industry is bound by jurisdictional boundaries. They're working and living all over the area. And so, for example, when Metro contributes to that, Clackamas County should get a portion of that instead of it just being designated for Multnomah and Washington County. And the Funders Collaborative seeks to make it more equitably dispersed. So if when Clackamas County contributes to the Funders Collaborative, the funding will mostly reside in Clackamas County. And I think that there'll be some negotiation about, you know, when the city of Portland invests, which Multnomah County and city of Portland may have many, many more projects. So we might benefit from also receiving some of those funds so that we can continue to increase that pipeline. I don't know that if a jurisdiction specific contributes to the Funders Collaborative, that only stays within the jurisdiction, but maybe I missed part of that conversation in recent discussions with the Funders Collaborative. But the idea is that it's a more equitable distribution of these workforce development dollars across the area.
Thank you. And are these trainings or pre-apprenticeship trainings, is this a rolling enrollment or is it a set 8 weeks? They apply, they get accepted, then they go into the training?
Yeah, yes, they are static training. So if somebody goes into a cohort, they are with the same cohort for that 8 weeks and then they start another one. Some of the reason for not having more pre-apprenticeship, so they might be offering 2 cohorts at the same time. They could potentially offer more, but that would cost the training, the sites, all of the materials and whatnot. So the cost per pre-apprenticeship is anything from 10 to 20,000, because again, there's no funds that federally, like these won't qualify for FAFSA or federal dollars. So the pre-apprenticeship is really kind of operating outside of the usual ecosystem of training and workforce development, which is why it's cost heavy, but it's really valuable because we're getting people connected apprenticeship programs that might not otherwise be.
And do you have, where is this link that you just put in, Tracy? Is this where if someone were interested in the program, they could go, or do you have contact?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the link to the materials that the board received yesterday, and it includes a link to the toolkit. And if I hadn't mentioned, this is really overseen by Metro. So Metro doesn't oversee the county's program, but they do help organize the committees and the information. And they have information on their website too about how agencies can participate in this. And there's just links within links there to read about all of this in further detail. So that's what's in the chat, sorry.
Okay, so if someone were interested in the program, they could find the link eventually, and or is there something you could post?
Yes, I could do a more direct link too, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Shannon, and thank you for finding that link, Tracy. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
John.
Yes, a couple of meetings ago, I don't think Tracy was in on the meeting, but we had started talking about the high school level kids getting alternative training if they're not going to college, and kind of some conversations I've had recently about, the lack of shop classes. And my former business partner's brother built a whole house when he was in high school through shop and became a carpenter and a contractor from there. And the House of Speed, the car museum on I-5 down in Wilsonville, closed last year, and they had an actual mechanic shop, and were running a bunch of high schools through there to have the kids learn how to do mechanics, and that closed. So Tracy and or Bridget, where are we with that as in high schools in general? Are we slipping and declining with actual training availability, or are they getting better or holding their own, or what? So the kids are prepped even before they come out of high school.
I would answer that a couple of ways. I think that the relationships that school districts have developed with Clackamas Community College and Oregon Tech in order to support more robust CTE programs and credit attainment is, I think that's a best practice. And having shop classes in a school, especially our smaller ones, is really expensive. And so that was one of the reasons why we started seeing them slip away. In the last decade, the Oregon Department of Education has made quite a bit of investment in building up CTE programs across the state, and also standardizing and ensuring that they connect with industry recognized credentials. And there's still work to do. So what I do know is that in Westland Wilsonville, they are developing a construction program, a CTE program that they were recently funded for. We may start to see some of that come up in the near term. But again, it all comes with a pretty hefty cost. And in order to build those facilities, there would need to be a sizable investment outside of what the Department of Ed, I think, is able to provide. Is that hopeful?
Thank you, Bridget. Any other questions or comments?
Oh, just that education is expensive, Bridget. We have to realize the return on that investment.
I think Bridget hears you. Cindy, were you going to say something?
Just one other comment to add to the discussion. First off, Tracy, thank you so much for the presentation. Your voice was steady the whole time. Well done. I just wanted to put some additional context to the C2P2 along with one of the performance Clackamas goals that the board has, and that is around self-sufficiency wages. So we have a goal the board does that the staff is working on that by 2026, we'll have a 15% increase in jobs that meet the self-sufficiency standard wage in Clackamas County. As an implementation team, we've defined that wage at $32.02 an hour. And that was for one adult and one daycare or preschool age child. So I just want to put that out there to let you know that this C2P2 work, because of the track and the career opportunities in the trades, that goes to support that goal of increasing self-sufficiency wages across the county. So just wanted to call that out to kind of show the cross connection we have between the initiatives.
Thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Really appreciate the conversation and the information, Tracy. Thanks for sharing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Really good questions. And anytime you have any further questions or information, I am here as a resource. Thank you, Bridget, for being my wing person. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on to the last item on our agenda, which is administrative business, really, for the EDC. So most of you already know I'm headed up to University of Washington. I'm going to be an associate vice president for operations up there. And what I've heard is if you shake a tree, because there's so many employees, you get a bunch of AVPs fall out of the tree. That happens with almost every position. I guess they have like 35,000 employees up there. So it's a big university, but I'll be headed up there. And so the executive committee for the EDC, we met to try to talk through transition and what happens for the remainder of this year. And according to the way we run things, John Lamott is in position to kind of fill my seat for the rest of this calendar year. And so John, you've accepted that, correct?
Yes.
And then Shannon is willing to be our vice chair. So I know we only have, is it Cindy, 2 or 3 more meetings this year?
It is. We will meet in, let's see, it's July now. So August and September and October will be our last formal meeting as we close out and wrap up our report to submit to the commissioners in November.
Thank you. So that's kind of the plan for the rest of this year. Of course, we're always looking at increasing our membership on the EDC and getting more involvement from different businesses. So continue the work that you've been doing to get members to consider joining the EDC. Is there anything else I needed to cover in that section that I'm missing? Cindy, John, Shannon, Chemo?
I would just say that we're looking at having maybe the Blue Heron project and the North End project in for August or September, and Stacia's on the call today or the Zoom today, because there's such big projects, so important, and it's really more of just an update of where everybody's at, and so the Economic Development Commission members can understand and maybe give some input. But Stacia, yeah, we were going to reach out and see what you think about that, have some sort of an update from you and from North End.
Yeah, that sounds great. We're really looking forward to it. We're getting close to wrapping up our master planning process on site, so we'll have a lot more to share with everyone. We're really excited about the progress we've been making.
That's great. Thank you.
We also have Bridget lined up to talk about the Future Ready Oregon initiative and those investments as they come down the pike too. So upcoming meetings are going to be stacked with great information.
Awesome.
But as process wise, I don't think we don't have any like a vote or anything formal that we needed to do to codify the transition for the next few months.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. William.
But I was unmuted there. We don't want to lose our connection with Clackamas County Community College, and I'm sure we won't. I did know if any efforts have been made to find a replacement member of the EDC representing CCC.
I have been talking to folks at the college as part of my transition to make sure there's still connections to the EDC, whether it's folks who are just joining ad hoc or ongoing. Some of it is a capacity issue potentially in the short term, but I'm going to keep pushing to make sure that we have a presence here. And I know that Bridget works very closely with the college, but I don't think that's probably enough. We probably need to make sure that we have a presence in the room. So that's something I'm trying to work through with all the different groups that I've been engaging with that are more kind of external community connections. So I'm working hard to make that happen. I don't know who it is though at this point in time.
We're going to miss you, Alyssa.
Thank you, William. Appreciate that.
Very much so. And Alyssa, too, if you have anybody you'd like us to talk to, let us know. From a staff perspective, William, to that point, we are very much connected with the Workforce Development Department at CCC, so and through business and industry too. But from a policy perspective, it's a great reminder to make sure that we have somebody sitting or at least actively participating in this body.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kemal, were you going to say something? I noticed that you were unmuted.
I just wanted to say congratulations to John and Shannon, and thank you very much, Alyssa, for all your contributions to the board.
Thank you, Kemal. Yeah, congrats, John and Shannon.
Well, and Alyssa, I have enjoyed getting to know you from when we actually got to meet in person and sit next to each other, and you will definitely be missed. We've really enjoyed having you here. So good luck for everything that's up in Washington.
Thank you, Shannon.
And on that note, on Shannon's comment, Cindy or Karina, are we going to try and meet in person in August? Or are we going to wait till the fall? Or are we not going to do it, or hybrid? Or I know that the college was a potential resource for hybrid, but where are we at with that?
We did the poll and it came back, most would like to continue meeting via Zoom at this point in time.
And that could have also been, John, you know, the county went from yellow to red, you know, during that time period when we were planning the meeting. And so when we did the survey, I can't remember if I think we had just gone to red or maybe close to it. So that could have impacted it. I think if things stabilize, we could see folks, you know, more interested in doing a hybrid or in person. And of course, the college is always open to hosting that, even if I'm not there. And I know that Karina has the contacts over there for reserving space and rooms that would work. So that's always an option going forward. Okay. I think that's a wrap, people. Thank you so much for all of your involvement in this group. Please continue to bring people to the table and be part of the conversation. I told Cindy I'm probably going to do some Zoom bombing, you know, potentially here. You won't be able to notice me. I'll do my cell phone. I'll just pop in, say something weird and then leave. I don't know. It'll be fun. And now this is all recorded for the record, so that's great too. Were you going to say anything final, Cindy or William? I noticed you both are unmuted now before we close out.
I just wanted to share from a staff perspective, just another thank you for your leadership, for your dedication to this cause and this organization. And we wish you all the very best. So thank you from the staff.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, Alyssa, I was just going to say, feel free to Zoom bomb the meeting. You don't have to chair it, but
that's true. I can do it.
Doesn't matter where you are.
Especially if you're on Zoom, I can join from anywhere.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, thank you all. I'm going to ignore Vance's chat about the Beavs, even though I did go to Oregon State. No, go Beavs. So but I have to say go Huskies now or go Dogs. Got to learn how to get that in my vernacular. So thanks, everyone. Keep growing business, taking care of businesses, paying attention to policy, supporting the county in your work, and I will be keeping an eye on you. All right. Take care.
All the best.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.